Welcome to r/best of Redditor updates, where OP's husband wants to be a sperm donor for his female friend. Our next Reddit post is from r/relationships. I'm a 26-year-old woman and my husband is 30. We were talking over dinner and my husband mentions that a longtime friend of his wants to have a baby. I don't know this woman personally, but he's talked about her before. Apparently, she asked him to be the sperm donor, and he said he was very flattered, and he wanted to do it. At first, I was really surprised, but not necessarily upset. Even though I didn't find the idea palatable, I didn't want to jump to the wrong conclusion, so I told him to explain a little more about what this meant. He tells me that she's wanted a kid for a while, and she's decided not to wait for a relationship anymore. I asked him if it would be difficult for him to know that somewhere out there he had a child that he couldn't see or whose life he couldn't be a part of, and if that would affect him emotionally. Then he whips out some really upsetting news. This woman wants him to actually be the father figure. She wants him to be part of the kid's life, like the actual dad. I do not like this for one major reason. He's been intimate with this woman before. They dated in their early 20s, but he refers to her as a friend, and before now, I never minded their friendship. I assumed they didn't think of each other that way anymore. They still might not, to be fair, but isn't it very effing intimate to share the active parenting of a child? I just don't know if they would keep it platonic, considering their history, and this very bond-building event that they want to plan. He said I'm overreacting, and that I'm not showing trust in him. I'm being insecure, and it's insulting because he's always been loyal to me before, and I have no reason not to trust him. Which is true, but it's just so uncomfortable for me to consider. There's another issue too. He and I have talked about children, and I let him know fairly early in our relationship, right when we started getting serious, that I have some fertility issues that may make it difficult to have kids in the future. I let him know that I've never gotten a specialist's opinion, and nothing was certain, but I've been told that it may be a concern in the future. He goes on to tell me that he and this woman have been discussing this for a few days, and he's going to do it because I might not be able to have his kids anyways. And if it turns out that I can't, he wants to seize this opportunity because he might not get another one like this later. I feel hurt. My emotional reaction is that I'm somehow inadequate, even though we haven't even started trying for kids, and I haven't even gotten a specialist's opinion. I feel written off. I feel shocked. I'm very effing upset. But deep down, I wonder, what if I can't have kids? Is it fair to deny him parenthood? Am I looking at this the wrong way? Truthfully, he's always been faithful. Could this dynamic somehow function properly in a way that I'm not seeing? I'm so weirded out right now. I wouldn't even know how to picture this future. We had an argument. He tells me I'm being selfish because he's always wanted children, and I can't expect him to give up this huge dream of his. He says he isn't cheating with this other woman. They aren't going to do the deed. He claims it'll be like he just has a kid that he can father, and the kid will just live with a friend. He says it really has nothing to do with our relationship. It's his own personal matter, and I wouldn't have to do anything. I think that's really how he views it, like when one person in a marriage has a time-consuming, expensive hobby that the other doesn't enjoy, but still allows their partner to do even though it means giving up time and resources. But this is a child, not a sailboat. This is a woman he's dated and slept with, even if it was years ago. And that's what's off-putting to me. Then, 11 days later, OP posted an update. Well, everyone was right. He was cheating. Surprise, surprise. I called the girl behind his back and found out everything. She was not nice about it. It was not a fun conversation. Nothing else I can say except I'm out of here and divorce is happening. We dated for 3 years, married 3 years. And I'm a stupid idiot, and I can't believe I didn't see it before. Makes me cringe to look at my post. How naive could I be? Someone asks, so, is she pregnant? And OP replies, no, but apparently it wasn't for lack of trying. She was pretty up in my face about it. It was probably the worst conversation of my life. I can honestly say that I have never seen red until she started laughing at me. Whatever, they can have each other. F them. Well, that ending was completely predictable, unfortunately. Good luck, OP. Our next Reddit post is from Relationship Advice. Where do I even begin to inform my wife, who's 28, that I may have caught my younger brother, who's 23, and her younger married sister, who's 25, doing the deed in my parents' house? I'm at home now, and my wife is in the other room on her tablet. Earlier this evening, I drove by my folks' place to drop off some floor tiles that I got from my father. He and my mother are celebrating their anniversary and are out of state on vacation. There was like a house party going on the same street, and it forced me to have to park a bit further away than usual due to all the cars, and I don't have access to my folks' garage door opener. So I park in front of a different house and walk a little ways. I go into the house through one of the side doors to get at the garage. When I get in the house, I'm immediately struck with the sounds of people passionately hugging. I'm grossed out and confused at first, thinking it's my parents. They're both in their 60s. Before that image can settle in my brain, I look through the glass door that connects the garage to the house, and I see that my brother's car is parked there. He does not live with my parents. For a second, I'm like, okay, creepy. He took a date back to my folks' place, but I reasoned it's because he has a messy apartment. Not wanting to cause a scene or ruin his fun, I duck out thinking I'll come back tomorrow. On the way back to my car, I noticed that the car parked in front of mine actually belongs to my sister-in-law. Now, I didn't see her in that house, and I have no idea what she sounds like when she does it. All I know is that her car was there. My folks moved here later in life, so I'm not super familiar with their neighbors. But there is a chance that my sister-in-law was at that house party. She's a married woman with 2 kids. I haven't said anything to my wife yet. Part of me is like, keep your mouth shut and pretend you saw nothing. And the other part knows I ought to tell my wife. What the heck do I do? OP, one of the best pieces of advice I can give here is imagine what would happen if the truth came out that you did know. What would happen? Would your wife be mad? Yes, she'd probably be furious. Therefore, you should tell her. Then, 2 days later, OP posted an update. Today, I went back to my parents' place, and neither car was there. I neglected to mention any of this to my wife and decided to just talk to my brother first to see what was going on. As I'm on the way to see my brother, I get a call from my wife who sounds a little distraught. She informs me that she just got off the phone with her sister and that she's apparently getting divorced. My sister-in-law and her husband actually haven't been living in the same apartment for like a week now. Hearing this, I expected her to tell me that my sister-in-law got caught cheating. But it was actually the opposite. My sister-in-law's husband had been having a 6-month-long affair with their kid's former preschool teacher. My sister-in-law has been despairing for a week having to tell anyone about this because she's ashamed of it. So I breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that if I had stumbled on what I stumbled on, at least there was no real wrongdoing there. I still kept the info from my wife and opted to talk to my brother. I don't usually show up out of the blue, so he was a little anxious that I was there. I told him about what I heard, and he apologized profusely. I then asked, "What about my sister-in-law's car?" And he got quiet. Well, it turns out my sister-in-law wasn't telling my wife the whole truth. Apparently, my sister-in-law has known about her husband's affair for several months now, but didn't confront him until just recently. While worrying about who to talk to about all this, she bumped into my brother at a gas station, and then they bumped into each other a little later. He told me that she basically broke down crying over it, and for the last few months, he's been letting her confide in him, and he's kept quiet about it. They then started meeting up and having coffee together, and since my brother has depression, he's recommended a few good therapists. There was never any major flirting in their meetups. They actually talked about their kids. My brother has a daughter from a previous relationship, so he talked about her. My sister-in-law's husband, who did not know his infidelity had been discovered, began to grow suspicious of my brother and sent him a message asking what's going on with his wife, why they're suddenly liking each other's posts so much and texting. When my sister-in-law learned of her husband's message to my brother, she saw red and finally confronted her husband, and he walked out. That was last week. That takes us to yesterday. They went out for coffee again. My sister-in-law mentioned being worried about how to tell her folks and her husband's folks about the affair, but she said that she was feeling much better with her ex-husband not in the house. She kept giving my brother signs, talking about her dead bedroom, talking about being lonely. talking about sexual frustrations, and my brother took the bait and took her to my folks' place, and the rest is history. When asked why he chose my folks' place, he said it's because they had a better TV, and he left his guitar there and needed to pick it up anyways. I told my wife when I got home, and she turned from being sad and nervous for her sister to being quite playful about everything. So it's looking like my kids might have double cousins at some point, lol. This is the first time in my life I've ever discovered the concept of double cousins. I did not know that. It's like, two brothers marry two sisters. Their kids are double cousins. I had to look up the DNA split. Double cousins share 25% of DNA compared to 12.5% of typical cousins. So that's roughly the same amount of DNA share as grandparent to grandchild. Interesting. Our next Reddit post is from r/legal advice. We are a small indie adult video company. A former model wants her videos removed and is unwilling to buy the copyright. She's sending us threatening messages. She worked for us between 2009 and 2012. She has 17 videos on our website, although we've recorded 20 and plan to release the other 3 in the future. This is about 10% of all the videos that we have on our website. She first came to us earlier this year and asked what the process is to have her videos removed. She's getting married and her husband isn't comfortable with these videos of her being online. We've quoted her the price of $25,000 per video to purchase the copyright to the contents for 14 of her videos. 3 of her videos are very popular among our members, and we've quoted her $100,000 per video for those. We also quoted $20,000 for the unreleased videos. So overall, it was $710,000. We gave her a discount and called it $700,000. Also, the contract would allow us to continue using the material for a further 12 months. This is to give us time to produce replacement content. This is more than a fair offer in the industry. She wouldn't be getting anything close to this offer from a big studio. She chose to not take our offer. She offered to pay $100,000 for the entire thing to be removed immediately. We declined. She has, however, been sending us letters threatening legal action if we do not accept her $100,000 offer, saying that we're violating the good faith and fair dealing covenant by not accepting her offer, and she'll be taking us to court. The letters are not from a lawyer. Do we have anything to worry about? Then, 1 month later, OP posted an update. We did a little research, and turned out her stories about getting married and her husband wanting the videos to go down were lies. She, in fact, is starting a membership program on her own website and wanted to use that excuse to get our videos at reduced prices to post them later at her own website. She wanted to use the exclusivity to get some of our paid members and have a larger library at launch. Once she realized that we know of her plan, she offered to pay the full $700,000. However, we declined since we have no interest in allowing her to use our videos to compete with us. She even offered to pay $1 million if we agreed to take down the videos immediately upon the sale. We, of course, declined and informed her that we're no longer willing to discuss terms about selling our copyrights. One other small studio that she's worked in the past has already fallen for her lies and sold her the videos at non-competing prices. We're happy we didn't. We learned a new lesson. People lie in business to get better deals. Here's the crazy part, you guys. The math on this is bonkers when you think about it, especially since OP calls this a small indie company. This is small? So OP turned down $1 million like it was no big deal. Like, yeah, $1 million, no thanks, I'll pass. And her videos account for about 10% of their website's videos. So presumably we can multiply that number by 10, meaning their website is worth well over $10 million, and we're a small indie company, guys. Plus, this girl has made enough money that she can easily offer $1 million just for video rights. The title made me think this is like, a husband and wife with a camera who like to film spicy videos and upload it to their website. This is a massive operation. What I don't understand is, if this guy's got $10 million to throw around, give or take, why are you coming to Reddit for advice? Get a lawyer, my dude. Our next Reddit post is from r/legal advice. My circumcision went horribly wrong many years ago. My parents received a settlement. Now I'm 18 and they're refusing to give me the money. All right, so as a result, I have part of my male part removed, including the entire tip. I know the hospital did settle with my parents. They always told me that money is invested for my future. I'm 18 now. I want to use this money for my education this year, but they haven't given me any details. They keep telling me that it's so soon and they'll do it in due time. Is there any way for me to find out where this money is and access it? And was the money required to be put somewhere safe for me? Or could it be that my parents spent it and are just buying time with me? Okay, well, I don't know where this post is going, but I'm very confident that all that money is gone. Let's see where this goes. 3 days later, OP posted an update. I talked to my parents. Turns out they used the money to buy the house that we live in and start the business that my dad runs. My dad showed me that I have ownership of the business as well, relative to the amount that my money was invested in. He said that he'll start paying me money from the profits, which I'll use for education. They said since I'm an only child, all of this will come to me anyways. I'm happy about all this. I prepared myself to hear that the money was gone, but now I feel bad for ever doubting my parents like that. Well, to be clear, OP, I still think that's wrong, actually. I don't think they should have bought a house, even if it did potentially, increase in value. And I don't think they should have started a business, even if the business turned out to be successful. They should have just put it in some account that accrues interest or dividends and just left it alone and given it to you at 18. Instead, they spent it effectively on themselves. What would have happened if the business flopped? And they bought the house, but they're not giving you the house. Presumably your parents are going to live in that house for another, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Then you get the money. Oh, gee, thanks. Appreciate that, mom and dad. OP, you got double screwed. Once at birth and now once again at the age of 18. That was r/best of Redditor updates. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.